Good evening. Dr. Martin Luther King, the apostle of nonviolence in the civil rights movement, has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
21st, while addressing a meeting of his followers, Malcolm X was shot down by Negro gunmen.
He died from stomach cancer on November 30th, 1987, in Saint-Paul-de-Vence, France.
Retired Los Angeles Lakers basketball star Kobe Bryant has been killed in a helicopter crash. It happened this morning.
Chadwick Boseman lost his battle with colon cancer Friday, his wife and family beside him.
And viral YouTuber Kevin Samuels has died in Atlanta.
So, I've had a few of my heroes, and I use that term very exclusively, pass in my lifetime. And it was funny because just last year, man, we lost Kobe Bryant, right? And I remember I'm not a humongous sports fan, right? Not since the days of Jordan, when I was a kid and we were cheering him on and watching the finals and, you know,
right,
doing what all Chicagoans do, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I remember when Kobe passed, a good friend of mine, he called me, he was in tears, and I didn't realize what he meant to so many people. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I remember the outpouring of support and, you know, just the sheer camaraderie surrounding him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I told my friend then, I said, man, like, there are very few figures that have died in my life. I remember Michael Jackson being one of them. I remember Prince, right? And I just remember the outpouring of love. And you still had that segment of people who were so hatred-filled when it came to Kobe Bryant, when it came to Michael Jackson, when it came to, you know, other figures, and it still didn't prepare me for Kevin Samuels. It did not prepare me for what was coming. And I don't mean his death necessarily, because I think I'm almost 40, so I've dealt with death before personally in my life, especially being a vet. But the reaction to the death was what shocked me. And I get internet trolls, I get critics, you know. But it wasn't just them. We're talking news outlets. We're talking people in media celebrating his passing in a way that was almost, and hyperbole aside, I can describe it no other way, and I'm not even a religious man, as demonic. It was weird to see, because no matter how you felt about the man, he was still a man, and a black man at that. And he never said anything that was extremely vitriolic. And by that I mean, he never wished ill on people. He was he only tried to help. And if you truly listen to his message, and shout out to all the content creators that are sharing clips of him, you know, interviews and, you know, things he said, you know, about what he wanted to do with his platform, because it really puts into perspective what he was trying to do, and in my opinion, accomplished in a way. And I'll go into that. He wanted to start with a conversation. He said that so many times. So many times. But it's funny, the conversation started and it ended so quickly. And as a content creator, or aspiring content creator, I'll say, you know, learning from, you know, the greats and others that came before me, it's sombering to see his catalog and body of work and him not get to see the result. I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
no, that makes sense.
The work ethic that man had. Listen, we started, what, I want to say 3 months ago?
3-4 months, maybe?
And just trying to get the channel off the ground, come up with content, produce that content, you know, the editing, the art, I mean, hell, Alex, you've been doing the majority of it. You know what I mean? It just
I'm so tired.
the sheer amount of man hours, and to see that man do it for 5 years, my guy. He did that shit non-stop. Even when he was sick. You understand me? The man was a workhorse. And I think that's a trait a lot of black men valued in him. It wasn't just that he was preaching a specific message. That message was needed. Don't get me wrong. But it was the commitment. Very few males in America, and we talked about this before, about ambition, right? We hear women talk about, you know, I want my man to have ambition. I want him to have drive. When you look at American males, most people, and this is not to shit on everyone, but most people, hell, myself included, are average. We are not people that just excel to excel. That's not the human condition, bruh. That's never been the human condition. If everybody is excelling, no one's special. It kind of reminds me of like, if everyone's special, no one's special. Like, like, bro, there has to be worker bees. I got into this conversation with a co-worker of mine. Like, everybody's like, oh, you gotta start a business. You gotta start a business. Who are you gonna employ? This is what I think American individualism, and Kevin talked about this, and it being an issue in our community. But I think it's just an issue overall, where we preach and teach individualism and we shit on the actual groups of people that actually are doing the groundwork, right? Who the hell is taking out your trash? Like, I don't want this to get preachy. It's a tough subject, and it makes you examine your own mortality. And I think the fact that we were all just watching this man live, 2 days ago, it stings worse. And something that he said that everybody latched onto the last podcast he had, and it was interesting because at the end of that podcast, I remember saying to myself, that was a productive conversation. He had multiple women on, young and middle-aged, and they had a productive conversation. And out of going through all the bullshit in 2020, making it through 2021, and getting to 2022, and his game plan was self-accountability, self-awareness. Self-awareness is sexy, was what he was going into 2022 with. And having the conversations, and you started to see it turn. I think I was telling you this, Alex. More and more the conversation, because I remember me and you were talking, and I remember you liked the monologues, right?
Right.
Because it was frustrating to hear some of the illogical arguments, and I understood where you were coming from, right? Granted, I wasn't having the conversations, but just hearing it was like, what?
Brain splitting. You hear me?
Bro,
Just
hair
completely
follicle
aggravated.
losing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? But this year was a little different. And he said so himself earlier this year. I think he said it in an episode in February, where he's starting to notice the conversation is getting easier to have with women. And it showed in his very last podcast, bro. Like, women weren't fighting him, per se. They were still challenging him, but it wasn't a fight. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get you.
There's a way to challenge someone's opinion and idea without coming at it with a bazooka. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Where you're not even hearing the other person talk. And he had fought for 2 years for that. For 2 whole years. He fought through it was a war zone on his podcast, you understand? And he finally got to a place where it was like, now we can have the discussion in love. Now we can do the emotional labor to actually have the discussion, and we can hear each other. There was a young lady on Instagram, and I think it was last week, and Kevin gave her props. He said, that's a good viewpoint. And for me, it was sombering because I was like, yo, none of his critics will ever hear that.
Mm-hmm.
None of the people and the mass of people who only get the bullshit clips, the 30 seconds, the 60 seconds from Shade Room, from all these other outlets that are literally going for outrage clicks. They will never hear that, and they will completely miss his overall message. And now that he's gone, they may never get it. I got a strong suspicion, and I hope that this is the case, and I hope his family considers it, because I know there was a lot of videos on his YouTube channel, you know, that he didn't necessarily leave up, you know, the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it himself last year that all of his work will be studied in colleges, and I truly believe that, because it's a look at a community that has been so steeped in propaganda and so entrenched in this gender war that it has, I'm trying to look for the word, man. Stunted. That's the word I'm looking for. It has stunted our growth so bad.
It's a good word.
That we are moving backwards. Mentally, we are moving backwards. And all the strides that, you know, that they try to placate us with, all these false statistics. We are going to a place. The fact that everybody, and I don't just mean women, even some men, everybody's talking about generational wealth, and they have no idea the sacrifice and the cost it takes to generate that wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a talking point. And Kevin was trying to get us out of the talking points to look at the data. Really look at the data. And when you look at the data, are we getting the outcomes that we say we want? And if we're not, what are we doing to change the outcome?
Exactly.
And when I heard him say that so many times, and the first time I heard him say that, it hit me because he put it in such a way, and this is because of who he was. He put it in such a way that made you go, that's it. That's what I've been trying to say. Personally, that's what I've been trying to say. For decades, I've been trying to say that. Since I was a young adult, I have been trying to say that. We talk a good game. Do we do the work required to get the outcome that we desire? And the truth is we don't. As much shit as men talk, as much bullshit that women talk, are we better off than we were 30 years ago? And the answer is fucking no.
Definitely.
Our families are still in disarray. It's gotten worse. And I have to ask, at what point do we stop blaming everybody else and look into the goddamn mirror? It's the same point I brought up to a friend of mine when I was a young adult about white supremacy. You will never hear me say that white supremacy does not exist. You will never hear me say that racism does not exist. At what point do you take accountability for your own fuck-ups and your own choices? Black men make choices every day like every other human being on this goddamn planet. Every day. Every choice you make. Whether or not to get up early to work out, whether or not to work out at all, whether or not to fucking eat correctly or eat like shit. You make choices every day that affect your life. Black man. Whether or not to go to the doctor to check out that pain. Whether or not to go to the dentist to check out your damn teeth, because that's part of your health. You make choices every day. You make those choices. Nobody makes them for you. Black women, you make these same choices. Whether or not to give a black man a smile. Whether or not to even be kind to a motherfucker. Everyone makes conscious decisions in their life, and you have to own those decisions. That's all Kevin was saying. It's nothing that nobody else hasn't said. And just with that message alone, just with that one message alone, he reached over 1 million people. And all the detractors, and all the trolls, and all the people wishing hate and pushed vitriol his way. In that 1 million plus people, you cannot say he didn't touch anybody in a positive manner. You see the testimonies. You hear about the couples. You hear about the marriages. You hear about people saying, damn, his perspective made me look at my spouse different. I'm one of them people. I'm not gonna lie. I was one of them people. He made me look holistically at what I was doing as a man. I went through a complete depressive funk, bro. And hearing his perspective about just me having a family, caring for them the best that I can, providing for them the best that I can, right? Was enough. It's enough. That's all I gotta say, man.
him, dude. When we sit and we discuss and we talk about people that we have to look up to, obviously, you know, I look up to your dad. It's the whole reason why I pursued the whole movie thing in the first place. Right? I tell him to this day, I blame him for putting me on this path. But when you talk about historical heroes, when you talk about, you know, role models in times past, you know, I remember you brought up Kobe. I remember that, you know, and it was the first time that I had to really analyze my bubble, because I didn't get it, because he wasn't one of mine. He wasn't somebody that I looked up to, because he was in a field that I had no interest in, right? However, when I reflect on those who I have looked up to, we're talking X, we're talking Baldwin, we're talking King, we're talking, you know, Robin Williams, we're talking, you know what I'm saying, Chadwick Boseman is the most recent one. That one hurt me hard, because he wasn't much older than us when he died of cancer. And I look at what has happened with Kevin Samuels and his sudden passing too. And it's just like, why is it that we can never have good things? I know we say that facetiously a lot, but like, seriously, why can't we have good things? Why can't those things last? Because that's frustration. That is frustrating to me. Why can't I have people that I look up to stay around to see the work that they start completed? You know, there was a saying that was repeated to me in my time in the Marine Corps, and it goes, people spend their whole lives wondering if they made a difference. Marines don't have that problem. I can firmly and confidently say neither did Kevin Samuels. Kevin came in a time where truth is replaced with fantasy and delusion. It was a time where it sounds foreign and disrespectful to call a spade, when keeping it real is nothing more than a vapid expression. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't say we haven't met Kevin. We never made his acquaintance.
Unfortunately.
I am, however, one of the many that he inspired. Inspired me to be my best CIA self. Inspired me to appreciate an FBI woman. And to enunciate the truth regardless of opinion and backlash. Because in the end, it's not about the messenger. It's about the message. And while I know I've not reached my final form, I'm aware of the work that has yet to be done because of him. You see what I'm saying? That's the impact of Kevin Samuels. To quote and the ripples just are so wide stretching. You know? And to quote a fantastic line from a terrible movie, it seems the destiny of great men to see their goals unfulfilled. To say that Kevin Samuels was a needle mover is to undersell his contribution to our community. Like, Kevin was a ground shaker. He shook the foundations built on delusion and took down facades right down to the studs of humble beginnings. We all have a purpose, right? Something that only we, the individual, can do to further the advancement of the collective. I truly believe this, and I think Kevin did too. And it is only after we fulfill that purpose that do we get to go home. We leave this place. I think, no, that's not the right word. I know that's why Kevin is no longer with us. His work is done. His race is finished. His rest earned. So, it's with a heavy heart that I raise my glass to this man. Not in mourning, but in a bittersweet celebration of the life of a man who affected so many in such a short amount of time. And as a symbol as my promise to continue the work that he started as an ancestor. So, rest in power, Godfather. You will be truly missed.
In this moment, yes, I cannot say what's wrong or right. No, it's not hard to fool me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to the good life. Yes, yeah. Lead the way, I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all, to the edge of it all. So tell your good lies, 'cause I'll buy no matter what, yeah. Susceptible now, before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good lies, 'cause I'll buy no matter what. Ooh, susceptible now, before the moment flies. It's not a problem, no, 'cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes, yeah, and nothing can stop me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to what you and I